I had the absolute privilege of being riveted by Jake Daggett at a conference that is really awesome. It's called Plain Talk About Literacy and Learning, and we were in New Orleans, and he blew the house down. He is phenomenal. What a wonderful thought leader and educator, and really influencer. So I'm super happy to introduce you to and welcome to the show, Jake Daggett. Jake, welcome.
Thank you. How are we, Cheryl? So great to see you.
Oh, I'm. It's great to be seen and not viewed. Jake, have you ever heard that before?
I love that. I'm going to start using that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I want to tell you that again, I am super excited to have you. I've been telling everyone that I'm going to be talking to you. You have such a strong following. So there are a lot of people who know you, but for those of us who don't, could you tell us three things that we should know about you?
I love that. I'm gonna hit a couple different categories. Three things we know
Okay.
about me. So my following knows that I'm a huge theater buff, huge theater fan, and music fan. So sometimes through my teaching and my presenting, there's a little bit there. I do all my Mariah Carey jokes, my Celine Dion jokes. So it's important to know about me that if you try to talk to me about the latest Super Bowl event, I'm probably not going to know much other than maybe the halftime performer. But I will talk to you about almost any genre of music. I'm a huge musical person, huge theatrical person, which comes through in really anytime you talk to me or see me teach or see me present to adults. So that's one thing about me. The next thing will be a fun fact that I love houseplants. They're my children. All my houseplants are named after strong female characters on television. So we have an Olivia Pope plant, we have an Annalise Keating plant, we have a Meredith Grey plant. So it's a little hokey, but whatever. It's a conversation starter. When people come over, I say, this is Olivia. so, so that's that. And then I would also say one thing about me would be that I was originally going to teach high school. So I went to college. I was one of those, I mean, I shouldn't say few people now, but there are quite a few people that kind of find their way to education after doing something else. I was one of those people that always sort of knew through my freshman, sophomore, junior years of high school, I knew I wanted to do it, but I loved language always, but I loved foreign languages. I took Latin. I took 4 years of Latin and was all proud of my AP exam score. And I even took Greek and learned the Greek alphabet and loved my teacher. And I loved the puzzle of language, the subjects, the predicates, figuring out the conjugations. And so I actually initially looked for universities that had classics, foreign language degrees that I was going to partner with teaching. It wasn't until I got to Wisconsin to go to college in Milwaukee that I then said, you know what? Maybe I need to do a bigger span. I thought maybe I'll do fourth grade through 12th. Maybe I'll do 8 to 12. And then it was my freshman year of college that I shifted to do kindergarten through eighth. And it's crazy that then I found my first job offer was seventh grade English. And people laugh at me now just because I have such a knack for that pace, that routine, that repetition that we see in early learning, early literacy. And
Sure.
I think early literacy and presenting about early literacy has allowed me to use that theater degree, use that Broadway, use that kind of
Hmm.
persona to engage big audiences. You were there, Cheryl, in New Orleans, right? It's 400 people, 500 people. And so that's just the funny thing about me is it wasn't my original choice. And then I found my way down to those littles. So here I am now.
Well, I'm so glad you have found your way to the littles because there's such talk now, Jake, about what do we do with these littles? Like back in the day when you thought about pre-K, you thought about coloring and napping, and that was pretty much it. But now we're putting words like the science of reading into the conversation. So when we hear people say something like the science of reading, we oftentimes we're thinking about elementary school, right? Not pre-K. But now, again, that's shifted. What does the science of reading look like in pre-K classrooms?
Absolutely. Well, I had this question, Cheryl. Actually, when I went to Roswell, New Mexico, I worked with a group of teachers for the full day that had 3 year olds, some had 4 year olds, some had 5 year olds. And when I first opened and talked about the science of reading, it's very important. You never know who's listening. And so it's very important to, as you and I both know, and we share with our audiences and our colleagues, talking about really it's a body of research, not a curriculum, right? And so when you think of pre-K, it's not necessarily, oh, I need to buy certain things to be science of reading, right? Or I need to order this and now I align with the science of reading, right? It's really more, are we going back to oral language, and are we going back to, in pre-K, what is natural for the brain? And since we do know factually that the first thing to be science of reading in pre-K is to just understand that reading and writing don't use visual memory. So if anyone's listening, right, it's very important to think, and I teach an online course, and it's an asynchronous thing, and we recorded a couple years back, but my colleague in the course would always say to people, you think of a penny or a coin, and you've seen it thousands of times, but you don't always know which way the head faces, right? Or there's certain statues that are famous in our country. You don't always know which way they're facing, but you know in the distance what that statue is. You know if you see a cow in a field, it's a cow. But suddenly we then forget, oh, if those images turn around, there's still those images. That's still that statue. I still recognize it. Words, letters, not the same. We do turn a letter around in pre-K, and then we say to ourselves, oh, they need more practice, or oh, they weren't listening, oh, they weren't paying attention. And so I think as a pre-K teacher, if you do not know that first science of reading necessity, which is, we do not learn from visual flashcard memorization. We don't learn from that type of rehearsal, right? A 3 year old, a 4 year old, yes, they need repetition and routine, but they have to make those noises. The noises have to come out. I was just with a pre-K friend yesterday doing our end of year screener. And people want to judge, Cheryl. People want to they're uncomfortable. We judge what we don't understand. They say, that's too much. They can't do that yet. That's too much. And this is the tiniest 4 year old you've ever seen. Could not have been more excited to do his test with Mr. Jake. It's really, so my message to pre-K teachers kind of nervous about that science of reading is, start with the oral, the interaction, the repetition, the choral responding. A lot of people don't understand that that's just teaching about school. Oh, we make noise on the carpet. We repeat after our teacher. We listen for the rhyme. We listen for the vowel. And even if we don't know what it looks like yet, or we get them confused, we're going to do it again tomorrow. And we're going to do it again the next day. And it's going to be fun the next day too.
Sure.
Yes, and it might be the same. It is the same. But they do not judge it. As adults, we're all worried. Oh, did I buy this new thing? Or do I need to switch it up? And my message to pre-K teachers for science of reading, it's not about what you're buying. It's really not right. You can make an interactive letter trace on the rug in front of you. You can do it on your leg, right? You can do it with your voice. You can do it with a song. And so that would be my answer to that, Cheryl, is understanding that those visual memory that those thoughts we have of kids that don't try, or it's because they don't pay attention. Attention is a whole nother podcast, right? And it's entered the chat though. It's entered the chat. Attention in general, adult attention, student attention. It's not like it used to be. So I think my message, Cheryl, would be that you're doing less more often, right? You don't need 500 things to stimulate, right? You're going to practice these things this week, And we may have to do it again tomorrow and again on Wednesday and again on
Sure.
Thursday. And it may look kind of the same. Do you know what? That
Right.
supports their cognitive load actually, because they're
Right.
like, oh, I'm pretty good at that medial vowel now because I've gotten
Um,
a lot of chances at it.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of my answer is bring in the oral and the repetition. It's less about what are they remembering, right? What are they visually remembering? Because words are going to all look the same at the beginning. Letters are
Right.
going to look real similar, real quick, right?
Yeah.
You know, a three is going to be a W on its side, a
Yeah.
B, a P, a Q, a D, right? So
Right.
if we are quiet and we're keep doing this flashcard, we're missing that oral piece. We're missing that
Sure.
experience of how my mouth is moving. So,
Oh, I love that so much. We just had Dr. Tara Nealon on, and she was just talking about kids need to put those words in their mouths. That oral language is so important. You're just reinforcing that. I loved, Jake, what you were doing in your session. Like, for example, talking about the sound for the letter A, right? Can you just like show us a couple of those things that you were doing with apple, for example?
sure, absolutely. And many people may have seen on my Instagram or even with Learning Without Tears, you know, there are many resources that have really embraced the senses, right? But we do not have evidence really to hold back certain things from children. In a pre-K classroom, you're not going to make them feel bad, right? If they need more at bats at it, but showing them an uppercase and a lowercase representation and really exploring the sound is not something we want to skip. I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, first we oral, well, you know, don't show them the lowercase. It's too much, you know. But the thing is their name has lowercase letters, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
them really would, their name is their identity. So you're not going
Right.
to stop them from knowing that, right? There's
Right.
signs across the building while you're walking to lunch, you're walking to art class. These are letters. Oh my goodness, these letters, this print carries meaning. This print is telling us to go this way, friends. Oh
Right.
my goodness, look
Right.
at the top. It says gym. Oh, that M sound. I see that up there. And so, what you were saying, Cheryl, with the repetition is I was doing, you know, short A, ah, ah. And then things like, oh, can you really fit your apple? Can you fit it in there? Because we see kids confusing with eh, right? We see them confusing with eh. And so if you don't really exaggerate, oh, but for ah, friends, our apple needs to fit all the way in. Ah,
Right.
ah, ah. And can we do it again? Ah, ah, ah. Oh, we missed a couple of you. Turn to your friend. Ah, ah, ah. And what was that sound? Ah. Oh, right. And so I'm really giving them some at bats.
Sure.
And then
Sure.
when I'm walking around the building, I'm seeing an A and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, there's that A from this week. Should we all do it in the line? Right? Because I know we were talking about this earlier, Cheryl, but some of us think, oh, well, phonics is over. It's 9:05. No, it's over. But like you're gonna see something later. Oh my gosh, friends, there's our A. Oh, let's put it
Right.
over by where we're lining up. And then we can all touch it on the way out and say, ah. Oh, did you touch it on your way out? Good job. So I think there's, you know, you've got to show up ready. We're not,
Yeah.
we've got some urgency here. We all know the data. If you're listening to this podcast, you obviously think literacy matters or someone told you to listen. So, you know, we don't have to repeat the statistics we all know to be true. But
Right.
it's very important also to be doing that with the letters because it's not guaranteed that that instruction, and nor should it be expected that the caregiver is owning those standards, right? We saw that problematic assumption during the pandemic, right? Well, why aren't the parents this? Why aren't the caregivers that? And the thing is they didn't sign up to be an educator. They've not
Right.
been trained for science of reading, and
Hmm.
they've signed up to probably work 2 to 3 jobs in this economy and put food on
Right.
the table. And so we can't say, oh, well, you know, they don't bring their folder back or they didn't do their homework. Homework doesn't drive achievement. I can teach you what you need to learn if you're here with me. I just need you
Yes.
here.
Yeah, I love that so much, Jake. And so, you mentioned that there's this misconception that it's too hard. There's, don't show kids lowercase letters because they can't do it. I remember writing a story about a butterfly, and butterflies comes out of chrysalis, not a cocoon, right? And they were like, oh, chrysalis is way too hard for kids, and I was like, no, it's not. It's totally not too hard. What are some other misconceptions about literacy instruction in pre-K, that we think, we just need to move beyond? We need to put that behind us. What's stopping us?
Well, I think that we've successfully, at least we've successfully gotten a lot of the science of reading research out there. I think that's
Hmm.
what's stopping us, Cheryl, and I don't mind saying this at all. My executive director fully agrees, which is why it was partly why I was brought in. But we don't have a lot of researchers or critics of pre K that can actually go in and then show us what you mean with a pre K class in 2026. If you have 25 pre-K students, and you're telling certain teachers some of these misconceptions, or you're telling them, those teachers are going to say, what? Show me. Because teachers are tired. Teachers are exhausted. And so
Right.
sometimes teachers just need to see, oh, I see what you mean. Or, oh, okay, it's possible, but maybe with this pace. Or maybe if I just switch around the level of back and forth from student to teacher. Or maybe
True.
if I do some table, then back to carpet, some table, then back to carpet. So I think the misconception, Cheryl, comes from thinking about it only within the reading rope and not within the executive functioning piece, right? And so a lot of it is possible. The exploring the uppercase, exploring the lowercase, exploring their first and last name, using appropriate grip, and writing things down. The joy kids have to try to write their
Yeah.
name, right? And you're
Oh,
never forcing or being a drill sergeant, but to tell them they cannot use a writing utensil, that, for what, right? They're so excited. They want to show you, they want to try it. And it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be some wobbly pathways of motion, right? There's going to be curved that's very tricky. And that's where you just take that as information, right? And you can
yeah.
do other things to build that strength. But to hold it back and say, well, the binder doesn't say that until week 8, we're very nervous for that. And so, Cheryl, I
Sure.
think some of the time teachers will get the blame, where a lot of times it's their aboves that are giving those directives, right? And even maybe the principal or the leader that's also has an above giving them a directive. And so I think in pre-K, Cheryl, it's very important where we need to peel back some of the red tape that's making people afraid to allow kids to explore things um,
Yeah.
that aren't going to harm them, right? You would be
Mhm.
surprised how many pre-K friends come in. I mean, look at devices now. Coco Melon, Miss Rachel. There's so
Yeah.
many devices that kids are watching on the plane. They're watching on the
Yeah.
train. They're watching during the road trip on summer vacation. So they may come in ready for lowercase. And then there may be a
Huh.
friend that isn't. And so what we have to remember is that encoding piece, whether it is with a larger sized pencil or a learning without tears crayon, right? A handwriting without tears crayon, whether it's with that, it's okay if some used the uppercase representation when we wrote ah, some used the lowercase, some wrote both, some wrote a scribble. But we were
Right.
practicing encoding, which we
Yeah.
often, Cheryl, we wait till they're 5. And what we don't remember then is the research says encoding is a bigger neural impression. So even if they're just trying a formation, trying a,
Hmm.
a, a diagonal motion, it's
Right.
going to stick in their brain if you allow them to try that sooner rather than later. And so that
Yeah.
red tape of some leaders that are really holding fast to the rules, that adult comfort is sometimes holding back our pre-Ks that really want to show us things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh man. So Jake, when I think about what you just said, I have to think about districts that are trying to like align their instruction, right? So they're trying to say, in fact, I talked to a school in center recently. They want to be able to support those pre-K children that are coming in, and they are ready for phonics, right? They're ready for phonics skills. There's some that are, yet there are some kindergartners that are not. And then maybe some first graders that don't even know how to hold a pencil, right? How do you align for really strong literacy practices from pre-K on up?
Absolutely. Well, I think that the what we've learned from the science of reading, of course, in pre-K, if you're in a half day, it's going to take you a little longer. Some pre-Ks are full. Ours are all day, right? So
Right.
we get to know them very well. And of course, they have their breaks, they've got their lunch, they've got their rest time, right? Of course, but there are a lot of pre-Ks that are full day, or the kids go somewhere for the full day and are at least at
Right.
right? And so we don't want to just kind of think in a scope and sequence mindset necessarily, only because research does tell us that kids will learn things out of order. We may have taught A and S and M first because they're most common, but kids may know X from all the exit signs they see. Kids know an M from McDonald's because it's the Friday treat, right? I get to go to
Right.
McDonald's,
Right.
right? So they may know the letters in their name because that's at
Sure.
least something grandma knew to work on at home, or the
Mm-hmm.
nanny, right? We don't know. And so I think
Right.
we get really stuck in that. And so in kindergarten and first grade, I encourage everyone, I always say it's a Jakeism, that everyone is invited to the tier one party. So if you're going to explore a letter formation, if you're going to explore a motion pathway of a letter, or if you're going to, even in first grade, if you're going to teach a digraph, right?
Yeah.
Um, Even if a student didn't go to pre-K, they can still come to that instruction. They can explore the sound. They can see that the S and the H come together. They may still need work on their consonants, but that doesn't mean they go sit over there and don't come, because the repetition is still going to be in there. And so, in
Yeah.
terms of alignment, pre-K through 1 can never assume that the full lowercase and uppercase representations are automatically mastered at BOY. And so we keep in our daily drill. Now I know drill, whatever people say drill, I say thrill, because a drill is kind of fun, right? They're down on the rug. Maybe they get to hold a stuffed animal during it, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
okay, yellow row, let's hear you. Purple row, let's hear you. Okay, everybody, right? It doesn't have to be sergeanty. We can be fun,
Right.
right? But
Yes.
they get
Yes.
excited to show you what they know. I do know
Yeah.
that's an S, and what is S, right? Let's all do it. And so, whose name has that in it? Whose name? Whose name? Tap your head, tap your head. And so the alignment needs to be teacher short demo, but students making noise. Pre-K through first, you've got to have that visual drill, and you've got
Yeah.
to practice recall. Now, in pre-K, you may only be doing some straight lined pathways, or maybe just the uppercase of their name. But if we're not partly doing the oral, speaking, right? Speaking syllables, speaking sounds, and then also practicing encoding, we're in trouble when we get to first. We're in trouble because we've all met a first grader that has never written anything down. We can point, we can sing the ABCs, but we've never been asked, oh, you want me to write it? And so then in first grade, we've never written anything down. We've maybe traced a worksheet, Cheryl, but have I been asked to form it? Have I been asked to form it, to build it? I see you've got your map man, right? Because behind you, right? Like, have I
Yes.
been
Yes.
asked to really do that? And again, by myself, have I been asked to remember, to practice remembering? It's retrieval to a T. It's what every LinkedIn person, it's the buzzword of the year. Retrieval,
Right.
retrieval. Everyone's talking about that, right? And
Right.
teachers
Right.
are
Right.
like, principals are, oh, well, do they have retrieve? And everyone's like, what is this new word now? I thought we were done with the new words. But that's what it is. It's, can I
That's right.
practice something very quickly after you had my attention on it?
Right, 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 right. I love that you say everyone can come to the tier one party. That is my favorite Jakeism for sure, because that tier one party is where magic can really happen for all of your students, right? No matter where they are. I love that inclusive way that you're thinking about it. Now, you mentioned some phonological awareness activities that you can naturally put in your day, like, hey, you're going to put the apple there, and they're in the hallway, they're noticing the letter A. What are some other kinds of phonological awareness activities that you might want to naturally put into your day where it's not necessarily during your phonological awareness time?
I mean, it's so funny. I mean, we all, by now, everyone has heard the research of keeping the print at the forefront as well, right? Obviously, you're going to have
Hmm.
your visuals in your room. You're going to have that mouth really showing, maybe even on the screen, maybe just with you. But I like to do anything and everything. Like, I'll, and really, it's learning about the world around you, especially in pre-K, like our little trays at lunch. And again, I'm a director, but I like to cover lunch duties because it's humbling, right? Some of the
Yes,
central
yes,
office
yes.
people, I need you to come once a month and cover a class, or I need you to come cover a lunch break because if
Yeah.
pre-K lunch, right? But I'll even say, um, oh my gosh, these styrofoam trays, friends, do you see? There's literally an M for milk on the tray. Should we put our milk on the M for milk? Oh my goodness, my lips just closed when I said that. And it's like we're at lunch. People are just thinking, oh my God, I got to get all these milks open. I got to get all their straws open. But I make it an experience. I say, did you try it? Did you try it? Oh my gosh, milk, one syllable. Like I'm so extra. People laugh at me in the school, but it's really, or we'll walk by and we'll see the exit sign. I'll say, oh my gosh, we just did that exit. Let's point up. Oh, exit. Oh, that has an interesting X in there. Did you see? And even though we didn't learn X, people are very like, oh, but it wasn't in the newsletter. Right. But like, that's, oh, well, like things are going to come up, right? Just like at school, they come up. Bloody noses come up. People, we got to use a bathroom break, fire drills, right? And so there's always a moment to, where they point up. And what's
Right.
crazy is I even had a kindergartner once, and all we had learned was that there was another sound for A
Hmm.
and they pointed up at the number line, Cheryl. And they said, but Mr. Jake, what about EIGH? And I was like, what? What do you mean, Jordan? And he was like, well, the number 8. And I said, oh my gosh, honey, you're so right. And so I said, you're right. That is like sleigh and way. That's so irregular, but you're right. That is one of the ways we can write long A. We won't be doing it today, but wow, that is. And we don't even realize that they look up and they see those things. And
Right.
so I just think people, of course you're going to do your syllable and your first sound and your middle vowel. We don't need to get into all that. But of course, those are often mandated by programs. But I
Sure.
just tell people don't sleep on what's around you, on events that are going on that day. Oh my gosh, donuts for dad. Friends, donuts for dad is this morning. I hear a lot of D's in there. Should we say that? Right, and you're literally just going over the schedule for the day.
Huh?
You're literally just going
Yeah.
over the schedule. But you just did a little phonological awareness there.
Right. Right. Oh wow. I love it so much. So then okay, so that's phonological awareness. So then tell me, Jake, what's developmentally appropriate when it comes to alphabet knowledge? And maybe even tell us what you think alphabet knowledge is for pre-K.
Sure. Well, for pre-K, obviously so we do have research, and some people don't know this, right? Because there are a lot of disagreements. And what we do know is that the uppercase, the lowercase, both names, the sound, a visual, especially for a multilingual learner, or anyone that's learning English as not their first, just to have that letter and then a memory anchor emotion, right? A lot of people think, oh, well, that's not really my personality, or Jake is really theatrical. Well, the
Right.
thing is, though, is it's really not just to be cute. It truly is a memory anchor. And it was crazy because 2 weeks ago during our May screeners, I remember even a third grader, we were just doing the recall of the sound drill, and I remember he looked at our third grade teacher and he just said, was there a motion for that one, Mr. Stecker? Was there a motion for that one? Because we don't realize how much that can support a learner, and it's
Yes.
really not a heavy lift on the adult's part. Just
Right.
pick something and be consistent. But you know, that so the uppercase, the lowercase, the motion pathway, and then a motion in a visual. All of those are appropriate. It's not appropriate to do some of it and then wait till later, right? Show them all of it and explore that sound in your mouth. Now,
Right.
that's what I would define as alphabet knowledge, right? Singing the alphabet, lovely. However, singing the alphabet, what's important for parents to know, I do have a lot of parents that are followers. It's important for parents to know that if I sing the alphabet, it doesn't mean I know what any of them necessarily look like, or if
Right.
I know how to write any of them, or if I maybe know how to write one but not the other. And so it's
Right.
important for parents to understand also that if they're leaving pre-K and don't necessarily have every upper and lower case mastered in a recall setting, in a writing setting, you don't need to suddenly refer your child, right? We don't need to suddenly, and we do that often. Oh my gosh, they're behind. And then they watch a TikTok video of, someone putting what their child can do. And then they think, oh, well, mine's behind. No child is the same. But what we do know is that recall is difficult, much more difficult in the brain than just recognizing. So, what parents can do at home, certainly be pointing out letters that are around them in their life, but also sometimes writing them. Right? Can you write
Mm.
for me an A? Oh, can you write? What do you think? Do you think you could write an A? Let's practice before dinner. Right? Let's just practice a few.
Yeah.
And so I think that even, we get also for teachers, Cheryl, for developmentally appropriate, think about whatever you're doing in that 5 minutes, what do you need the most? Because if you want them to recall, mm, what was my sound? Mm, they may do an uppercase, they may do a lowercase, they may do
Right.
a W, mirror and variance, right? To them, it's just the same shape.
Yep.
But what is your goal of that 3 minutes? Your goal is recalling a symbol. So if it's not beautiful, okay. Now, when I move to my little house paper or my little Mapman paper or my little handwriting paper, and handwriting is what I'm teaching in that moment, then I do want to make sure we have my pull down straight, curve, right? Then I'm doing that, right? But a lot of us
Sure.
want to run around and correct. Oh, no, 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 right? And then I'm scared to do that because
Yeah.
I always have a problem with mine, right? But at least just what I want teachers to understand is it's very hard to recall a symbol and to write it using motor acts. So if we're
Yes.
practicing the 4 letters we've learned this month, just try it. If your A is
Yeah.
backwards, you're in pre-K. It's a start. You had a curve, friend. Wow, you had a curve and a stick.
Yeah.
Great
Oh my
job.
gosh.
We just want to put
Yes.
the stick on this side. Wow, you had 2 curves for your S. It's a little bit backwards, but we'll work on it. And so
Yeah.
I think just understanding the trajectory, but also understanding, Cheryl, that recognizing not the same as recalling, not the same as writing it. So we
Yes.
don't want to think
And
of them as the same thing.
right. And you want to focus on what you're focusing on. And I love our Learning Without Tears program, Jake, because that whole ball and stick, we're never doing that, right? We want a magic C that goes up like a helicopter, bump and back, down, bump, right? We want to do that. That little language is very helpful for students to, again, hold on to. And we love doing it with our, big motions. I can do it with both my hands clasped, right? And I can make that magic C and go up like a helicopter bump and come right back down bump. So I love that you're mentioning, hey, when focus on what you're focused on. So if it is recognizing, let's focus on that, and let's not focus so much on forming, right?
Right. And
And
then
then
we
of
can
course,
get there. Right. And
yeah,
I think there's
yeah,
also just, we're very quick, oh, they're not getting it, or they're not getting
right,
it. And it's
yes,
very important in pre-K to ask yourself, what is it? What is
yeah,
it? Because they may have never seen this before. We're showing them two ways to represent it. Some of them don't look like their uppercase counterpart.
yeah,
Now, that's not bad that we're showing them that. It's true information. But when we say
right,
we're not getting it, what do you mean? We're not getting the sound? Are we not
yeah,
getting the name? Are we not
right,
getting the upper, the lower? Are we getting it but we're not writing it yet? Are we
that's right,
writing it
yeah,
but not remembering what it's called? Are we
yeah,
remembering the sound but then we actually forget the name? Those are
yeah,
all different things. And so
they
we
are,
don't want to just say, oh, they're struggling or they're behind. Okay, but what though? What do we mean? What do we mean there?
right. Yeah, I love that, and I love what you talked about with families. So you were giving families some ideas to kind of support at home. Are there other realistic ways that families can really support literacy outcomes, at home, right?
Well, we do see, we do not have an evidence for extended screen time right now to kind of replace the human interaction and oral conversation.
Right.
We're seeing a huge attention. I call it the battle of attention,
Mhm.
because, or the battle for attention. And
Sure.
Peps McRae is one of my favorite researchers out of Australia who talks a lot about science of learning, but he has an image of attention as like a little circle, and there's an iPhone that takes a bite out of it, right? And
Mhm.
so we do see, right? We see pre-Ks now that can help you reset your iPhone, but do not know their name, even maybe
Right.
orally their last
Right.
name, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that with parents, right? Oh, what are we doing? Where are we headed? Oh, what did you have a good day? Oh, why? Why? Oh, really? Oh, why? So really supporting conversation. You'd be so surprised, Cheryl, how many 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds come in and have you never been asked a question? Like, have you
Mm.
never been asked what your full name is? Like, do you not know? Right. And we just assume that they would know these things. Do you not know what I mean when I say, right? And a lot of times we say things like, oh, well, you know better. You know better to be quiet in the hall. We don't. We've
No, you
actually
don't.
never been to school. Well, no, we don't. And so, a lot of researchers will call that the adultification of
Mhm.
education, where we suddenly think they should just behave like an adult because they're in the building. No,
Right.
they don't know better of how to hold that pencil, perhaps. They
Right.
might have never held a writing utensil, actually. They've
That's
held
right.
this.
Right.
So parents
Yeah.
at home can really talk to them in the car. Where are we driving? Oh my goodness, look at
Right.
that big M as we pull in. What is that? Wow, that big M, so interesting. Just
Right.
name what you're doing. Talk about what you're doing. Ask
Right.
questions. Ask the questions.
Yeah. And give them time to answer it. Ask the question and allow them some time, some thinking time, right?
And you'd
I
be
love that.
right. And you'd be surprised how much the executive functioning piece then goes into the learning. I love how Nell K. Duke and Kelly B. Cartwright kind of gave the Scarborough's reading rope. They gave it a facelift when they did that active view of reading, and they added
Yes.
that green circle. And in that green circle, before you get to anything, is executive functioning. You'd be surprised.
Yes.
Do you not, what do you, have you never zipped your coat? Like, you're just standing staring because someone just comes and does it for you usually. You're just screaming at the milk because it's not open. Do you not know how to ask? right? And so I often say, oh, I don't respond to screaming. I respond to raised hands, right? Oh, I don't do shouting, but I can certainly help. I don't respond to shouting. And so you'd be surprised how getting some of that executive functioning to the forefront allows for cognitive learning. If I'm in chaos, I don't have cognitive space to recall this pathway of motion of letter S right now.
Jake, wow, you are so powerful and you are clearly super fun. You're high energy, right? You're engaging. What can you say to empower, as we close, right? What can you say to really empower school leaders, empower teachers and families to really bring the fun to pre-K, knowing again that they may not have a theatrical background like you, thespian, right? But they know it's important to one make learning fun, but they need to make it their own. So what would you say to them to empower them, school leaders, teachers, and families?
Well, to empower them is one, just that I see you. I see you, we see you. There are some rough days. There are some rough days. There are
Yeah.
students that you don't see for a while and you're not sure why, and can't control, are they moving? Have they moved? Have they come to school late? Um, and so I see you and I know what it's like to go home and can't get that child out of your mind or that teacher out of your mind that you just really want them to see their worth. And I don't want to sound all kumbaya, but it is sustainability is top of mind. As a leader, I'm always thinking about, is this usable in a practical sense for a teacher? Because we can't bring joy when we're burned out. Right. We
Right.
can't bring joy when we know this research and we listen to this Literacy Matters podcast. But then what do I do? What resources do I have? Right. Is my leader supporting me? And so for leaders, I would encourage you to think about what I said earlier about the pick a goal or two. Pick a goal or two that you want for pre K. Is it increased response? Is it increased oral experience with kids? Is it an increased participation? Is it an increased total body movements? And just pick something that then your teachers can work towards because 17 goals don't usually work, right? When we have 12, 13 goals, we actually get good at none of those because we don't really hone in on any one.
Right.
And so if phonological awareness and bringing oral response into pre-K and exploring things aloud and helping them understand that with letters and sounds, that needs to then be your goal, right? When I come in
Yeah.
as a leader, I want to see the back and forth of teacher and student. I want to see the repetition. I want to see
Sure.
that there's a routine that supports them. And the reason I'm using that as my final question is that is truly how we redeploy attention. If I know what's going to come next and I'm safe in my room, I'm safe with my teacher, I know we're going to do our song for the helicopter, and I know that song. I know
Yeah.
that song because we've done it, right? I don't need a new song tomorrow, right? I actually love it if it's the same one. And so I
Yeah.
think we get a little confused because adults are often like, I need a change. Kids don't need a change. They don't, Cheryl. And
Right.
research shows us that, right? So to empower you to be say, what is a new routine that you can honestly set up so that you can then, one, not have to work so hard on the back end, but
Right.
two, then kids can feel the joy also comes from being able to do something. I joked
Yes.
in New Orleans, Cheryl. Remember, I said, imagine me doing golf? Ew. But like, I don't know how to do it. I don't
Right.
know how to do that. And so that's not just, oh, try your best. No, but that's when we get the tears in pre-K because I
Yeah.
don't have my helicopter song. I don't
Right.
have a I didn't have a teacher demo or I wasn't up close on the rug really doing it together before I went to try it by myself. There wasn't a routine in place for me. And when
Right.
we get to the next letter, friends, we're going to do the same thing. And don't worry, the letter from last week is going to be in there this week too. We're going to practice it again this week too. Now we know 3, right? And so that's what I would empower, is to really pick some routines that can empower kids. And then for the leaders, pick 1 or 2 goals for your
Right.
pre-K and K. Do not pick 10.
Sure. What about for families? What would you say?
I would say for families, listening to podcasts like this will help you understand what we mean, as we start to say things like, they're doing really great in recognizing, we're working on recalling, or they're doing really great at uppercase pathways, but
Yeah.
uppercase pathways have a lot of vertical motion in them. Lowercase, we see more curved motion. And so I would, as a parent, I would start to try to be a kid again. Be a kid again for a little bit. And think of how many shapes you're asking them to remember. And understand that you need to be a kid again in this climate. We're doing a
Mm.
lot. We're going to soccer. We're coming home. You want me to do this? I'm cleaning up. My attention span, adults don't even scroll past a video if it's 3 seconds boring. Adults scroll in the elevator. That's what we do. We scroll to the news. Here, I got my little email. I got my little this. Um,
Hmm.
this little thing, right? And so I think that's where, I would encourage families to be a kid again and understand that this isn't going to be learned perfectly by age 4.
That is powerful, Jake. I am so excited for people to hear this and so excited that we're going to be doing more and more work together, Jake. I appreciate you. Thank you
Yeah.
for all that you do. Thanks for being on the show.